Hi, welcome back. I hope you had a lovely break and you're ready for another month of Insider. This week, we talk about certified translation, but in a different perspective, the perspective of the law and the rules that may be applicable when you work with different countries. So stick around for another Translator Insider and to talk about certified translation. You all know that a huge part of my work is certified translation. I am an ATI certified translator and I can certify translations from English to European Portuguese. Most of my work, when it regards to certified translation, is destined to the Portuguese consulate here in Sydney. It may also be to another office of the consulate that may be in Brisbane or anywhere else where there is a representation of the Portuguese government, such as a consulate or embassy. However, there is sometimes a bit of misconceptions and a lot of things said about how certified translation should be done and what is needed for that to be done. First of all, if you are a certified translator, or if you are now starting your career, because that's what this insider is about. Mostly it's for those who are now starting, because obviously if you're already a certified translator, you also know what I'm about to say. But if you are going to be a certified translator, you have to be aware of the rules and regulations that apply to the countries where those translations are going to be destined to. Of course, you have to comply with the rules of the country you are in, namely your code of ethics and everything regarding to your job as a translator. Of course, you need to do that because that is your certification, your license on the line. But that translation, that final product that you produce, needs to be compliant with the law, with the regulation of the country where it is going to be presented to. And you must be aware of it. Because then, if you are aware of that, if you are aware of the rules, if you are aware of the law, you are more capable to help your clients achieve their goals. And you can ask the right questions and get the right answers from them and know exactly, and when there is any doubts, any room for doubts, when you don't know exactly what your client may need, or if what your client is telling you is exactly what's going to happen, you can also say, would you be able to confirm? So both of you are sure that you are doing the right thing. I always do this and I never go wrong with that. So, because each country has different regulations, and to what certified translation is concerned, rest assured that there will be a lot of differences. For example, if you are doing a certified translation to be destined to the Australian government, so for example, in the case of my pair of languages, from Portuguese to English, which is actually something I cannot do, and that's a thing for another video. But you must also be aware that some translators, like myself, only do it in one direction and not two directions, because there is a lot of misconception about that as well, and I will be doing a video about this. So if you're doing a translation for the Australian government, in Australia, the translator produces the final product, which means that when you do the translation, you stamp it, you sign it, you put the date on it, you sign it, and that is the final product. The Australian government accepts that translation as an official document and as the final product, because The translators that are NATI certified, obviously we all need to be NATI certified to work as certified translators in Australia. That translator is recognized by the government because it has been certified by NATI, which is a body that is obviously recognized by the government. So that is the final product. You must be aware that, for example, DFAT, which is where most translations end up in, they have a few regulations, and you may have to write a few statements, and you might use a certain template. That also, if you are a member of NATI and if you are a member of WOSIT, which I strongly recommend, both and especially OSIT has templates that will help you know exactly how you prepare your translation. However, not all countries have this setup. Not all countries accept the work of the translator. The certified translation has a final product, and Portugal is definitely one of them. And I've been working with the Portuguese consulate for years, and I know too well what goes on. So in Portugal, as far as I'm concerned, there is no certified translators. So a certified translator, even if there is, the product of a certified translation from a certified translator, it's not the final product for the government. They will need that translation, or should I say, the signature of that translator, to be recognized either by a notary, if you are in Portugal, or by the consulate itself. So it's another step that you need to follow. And you need to follow this step, and you need to understand, and you need to know that to also help your clients. I've been doing this for years, and I've always helped my clients by asking all questions and knowing exactly what they need. And in case of doubt, if I'm not sure what the client is telling me, I always ask them, would you please be able to confirm? Because it's better. It may seem that you are just annoying the client with questions, but in reality, you're just making their lives easier, because if you are asking the right questions and the client asks the right questions and know exactly what they want, you will be able to help them fully and do whatever they need to be done to get done, and they will get that application or whatever they need to submit to the Portuguese government done properly, and it will be easier for them to get the things done. If you just don't ask questions and you just do whatever you have to do, and then the client has to go back and forth with more bureaucracies and more things to do, it ends up being an hindrance in the client, and they will be frustrated and even more annoyed because they have to do all of those, and they will end up thinking, oh well, I contacted this translator and they didn't help me at all. It's like a going back and forth with things. So please be aware of the law. Ask questions. I already said this a million times. It is okay to ask questions. It's not a sign that you don't know how to do your job or that you don't do it properly. It is a sign that you want to do your job well, and you want to ascertain exactly what your client needs so you can help them with your best response. So I think this is something that we need to understand. We need to understand the laws applicable in the countries where those documents are going to be destined to, so we are able to do our job and help the client to get those papers, to get those documents ready for their application or whatever they are doing. This is very, very important. I've been doing this for a long time, and I always end up asking questions. For example, recently, the Portuguese consulate in Sydney sometimes ask the documents, for example, police checks and other documents like that, to be apostilled. So the client has another layer of things to do. So they will have to go and get the document apostilled, and then the translator, meaning, for example, me, will have to translate the document, let's say the police check, and the apostille that the client obtained for that document. So this is how the procedure is done. So when you get the documents, make sure that your client knows exactly everything that they need. Because if you, for example, do the translation and then they get to the consulate and they ask them for the apostille, then the client needs to go back and get that apostille done, and then they have to come back to you to do the translation of that apostille. And basically is time wasted for your client. They just wasting time going around in circles with more things and coming back and forth with things. And whereas if they just know exactly what they need from the start, if they know that they need to get that document apostilled and then the document translated, you can do it, and that's it. Another thing, and this is my personal approach to certified translation, and this is namely for safety. I always print a copy of the original that it has or is usually sent via email. In my career, I have never had a client sending me the originals for me to have here in my office and translating from the originals. It does not happen because obviously it's not feasible. So what I do, I print a copy of the original that the client sends me via email, and then I stamp my stamp, and I sign and I put the date and I put a statement that is the original from which the translation was based. So when the official body, when the people that are going to look at that translation, then they will obviously have the original document with them, because my client would have to give them that, and they will look at the original document, they will look at my translation, and they will look at the copy of that original document at the back of my translation, and they will see it's exactly the same thing as I'm looking for. So this ends up being a little bit of help in terms of authenticity, and helps everything to look genuine and proper. I always do this. It might take me a few minutes more, but in the end, I think the clients are happy because things are done properly and I help them achieve what they wanted. I think the basic thing here is knowing the law, and I already wrote a few articles about this. I even wrote an article about the regulations in the Portuguese consulate for those who need to submit applications with the Portuguese government in Australia, which is another thing that you should bear in mind. I'm doing this video and I'm talking about the regulations here in Australia. In Australia, the Portuguese consulate accepts that the translations are done only by an artist certified translator, because they follow the same advice and the same regulation as the Australian government. However, they are all also under the Portuguese law, of course. And under the Portuguese law, that certified translation, which may be genuine and accepted within Australia, has to be recognized. The signature of the translator needs to be recognized, and that's the difference. However, in Australia, the Portuguese consulate also requires you to get your translations done by an artist certified translator from English to Portuguese, which is my case. So bear this in mind. If you are doing this type of translations, just, take your time, go into the Portuguese consulate website, see what they have there. If you need any more information, maybe you contact them. It's not only not always easy, but is becoming better and better, I must admit. And anytime you receive a new job from your clients, ask as many questions as you think fit. Please ask them questions, know exactly what the project is about, know exactly what your client needs, because if you give them exactly that, it's more efficient for you in terms of work, it's more efficient for your client, and it guarantees them more chances of instant success. So this is what I think is so important about certified translations, that sometimes get lost in translation, I think, is that people don't see the bigger picture. They don't see that, yes, in Australia, for example, in taking Australia as an example, because it's the country that I work with and where I work, where I live, but we need to understand that sometimes the rules and regulations that apply to the countries that we live may not be the same as other countries. And if we are translating a document that is going to be destined to a government of another country, of course we cannot go against the rules in the country that we are in, and obviously against our code of ethics, etc., etc. But we also must be aware of the rules and regulations of that country, because that document is going to be for them. And if it's going to be for them, the regulations of the country we live in, as in my case, Australia, won't be applicable. They will have their own rules. They are their own country, they will have their own rules, they have their own sovereignty. So we need to be aware of that. And if we are, everything will be easy. And that's all for today. I hope you really liked this talk about certified translation, and I hope it really give you a little bit of an insight of what certified translation it is about, and what you need to do if you are a certified translator starting your career, and what you need to do if you are a client looking for a certified translator. Definitely, I would recommend you to give them as much information as you have with you, what the translation is for, what do you need, what did they say, etc., etc. And if you are a translator, obviously ask all those questions, because it is very important and it makes life easier both for you and for the client. And definitely they will thank you for it, because if they get things done quicker, easier, they will definitely thank you for the questions, and thank you for all your effort to actually do a good job and get the translations done and approved in no time. But of course, if you have any questions, if you are starting your career and you have the NATI certification and you would like to ask a few questions, please feel free to do so. If you're working with the English to Portuguese languages, I am definitely an expert, because I've been doing this for more than 10 years. If you're doing the other way around, I may not be aware of all the regulations, as I do not do that. I know that for the Australian government, there is a few other regulations involved in it, and when you do a certified translation, there is a few other rules. The only advice I can give you is look at the AUSIT website. They have plenty of information, even templates there that you can use. Of course, there's always those social media groups from AUSIT and other groups of translators that you obviously can ask and get some help. But if you have any question, please feel free, leave in the comments below. I'll be very happy to help you if it's something that I definitely can help with. If I cannot, I will definitely recommend you somewhere to go. And of course, anything else that you would like to comment, feel free to comment. And put a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you get a notification of a new insider either each week or every fortnight. Until the end of the year, we'll be having this little difference on our program. So for today, we will be saying see you next week. There'll be another insider next week, and I hope you like it. Thank you so very much for watching, and see you next week. Thank you. Bye.